Hey there, YouTube. So today we're going to talk about lease options and why I use them. We're going to cover three things. One is their potential for monetizing an asset that you have. The next is reducing maintenance cost. And the third is increasing your exit strategies that you have available to you with the lease option. So one of the reasons why I like lease options so much is because sometimes I end up purchasing more properties than I have time to remodel at the time, and a lease option is something that gives you a little bit more flexibility. So one, monetizing an asset. That's one of the most important reasons why I personally use lease options. Let's say I get a couple houses under contract, I close on all of them, and I only have the capital available at a certain time to remodel like one or two of them, but I've got another one or two that are in livable condition, but not necessarily something that I have ready to rent to the standard that I'd like to have it right now. A lease option is a great way to monetize that property. So with a lease option to purchase, you can get the house leased out to a potential tenant, a potential buyer, get it leased to them, and they then have an option to purchase the property for 18, 24 months, whatever you put in the option agreement. So now this tenant is really a home buyer. They're looking to, it's somebody who isn't able to close right now, but they would like to close in the future. So now you're giving them 18, 24 months where they're a tenant, but they have the option to purchase the house in the future. So it's giving them time to get their finances together, get their credit repaired, whatever they need to do that's preventing them from buying a house right now, while at the same time you as the property owner are having reduced maintenance expenses and giving them the opportunity to rent until they're able to buy. So that leads us into our next point, which is reduced maintenance expenses. While traditional landlord-tenant laws in most states are going to make the maintenance the landlord's responsibility, many times with lease option to purchase or any kind of pathway to ownership program like this, there's a lot more leniency in allowing the tenant to be responsible for maintenance. So in my case, usually my lease options, the rents are much lower than they would be on my traditional rentals. However, they're also usually more profitable because in my case, I don't take any maintenance responsibility in my lease agreements. So all those maintenance responsibilities fall to the tenant who's intending to purchase the property. Usually, since the property was in poorer condition than one of my normal rentals, as the tenant's remodeling, they're going to be remodeling to the standard they want when they purchase the home, which is also going to help them when they go to get the house appraised. So these lower maintenance costs help out a lot, both for the tenant and for the landlord. As the landlord, you had this house under contract that you weren't able to remodel at the time, and then the tenant who wasn't able to purchase at the time, but can go ahead and get this maintenance done to help their future appraisal value when they go to purchase the house. That leads us into our third and final point, which is exit strategies. So now maybe you sell the house, maybe the tenant decides not to renew or isn't able to renew their lease. You have several different opportunities. And I think the biggest thing with exit strategies though is from the time you purchase the house, you've pushed your need to make an exit strategy decision 18 to 24 months into the future. So with this lease option, you've bought yourself time. Obviously, if at the end of those 18 to 24 months, the tenant decides to exercise their option to purchase, your exit strategy is going to be to sell the home because you did give that tenant the option to purchase. So you really, as long as they complied with with the terms of their agreement, they have the right to exercise that option to purchase. But I mean, as the home owner, you set that option at a price that was profitable enough to you that should they choose to exercise that option to purchase, it's worth it for you to let them go ahead and purchase it. So that's your number one exit strategy, is the tenant goes through with their option to purchase, completes the purchase, and now you've sold the home to somebody that you've been renting to for the last 24 months. Next, if the tenant decides not to exercise their option to purchase, now they're moving out. You had 24 months to prepare, for this day. So hopefully you're prepared for it. Ideally, the tenant has put some work into the house, so it's probably in a little better state than when you bought it. However, if you decide to keep it to rent it out, you are going to have to put more money into it, because if they chose to move out They probably did not do a great job with any repairs that they did. You're likely going to have to redo a lot of the repairs that they did because they're probably substandard. But you had this time to prepare for it. You had the rents, you had their down payment, all things that you should have reinvested into getting ready for the turnover. So at this point, you've got some of those rents saved up. You have their down payment. You can utilize that money to complete the remodel and get the house up either into a rentable condition where where you can get prime tenants, because likely your lease option tenants were subprime tenants. So now you can remodel it where you can get prime tenants into that house, or you can remodel it to sell it for a premium at whatever price the market will command there. So these are 3 reasons why I really like leases with option to purchase, is because it helps you monetize an asset that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to. It reduces your maintenance costs on that asset at a time when you're probably have reduced cash flows, and then it also increases your number of exit strategies for the property and buys you a little bit of time into the future to commit to an exit strategy. So if you have any questions about leases with option to purchase, please drop them down below. Give this video a like, give the channel a subscribe, and if you need copies of any contracts or anything like that, I'm always available through the comments here. Instagram, Eric Ducommon, Facebook, Eric B. Ducommon, and I'd be more than happy to share copies of contracts that I have either used now or have used in the past. So obviously, run those by your own lawyer in your own state to make sure that they'll hold water in your local courts. I can't give any legal advice, but those are just some resources that I have that I'll make available to you, no problem. Have a great day. Peace.